What's up and welcome, I'm the one and only West Coast King, and welcome back to Major League 90, where we are talking Major League Soccer, and Decision Day has come and gone. Many teams were judged, some did not make the cut. It was a very, very interesting and exciting Decision Day. I kind of like it. It's exciting, you know, knowing where everyone is and kind of keeping tabs on the live scoreboard. You know, who's moving up, who's moving down, what's going on there. It's a bit tough to keep track of everything that's going on and all the storylines. I would have liked to have watched a few more games live, but unfortunately, just not possible with everyone playing at the same time. But still, it's a lot of fun. It's very unique and it's very, very exciting. So let's talk about what happened on Decision Day and also look forward to the playoffs, the knockout round games. They actually get started tomorrow on Wednesday. So let's get into this thing. So of course, let's get it started in the Eastern Conference, where everything kind of went the way I expected, honestly. You know, everyone stayed exactly where they were in the standings. Not one team moved up, not one team moved down. We'll start at the top, I guess. New York Red Bulls, barring any major disaster, we're going to walk away with the top seed. A win or a draw would secure them that spot, and they went out and they took care of business away against Philadelphia, a team that was still technically fighting for their playoff lives. There are two playoff teams now, and you could really see which team wants it. Which two of these playoff teams really is going to be the contender, and unfortunately, it's not going to be Philadelphia. New York just handled that game. They went out, workmanlike game, took care of business, and walked away with all 3 points there, and walked away with the top seed in the Eastern Conference. So moving down the table to second place, we had NYCFC, and they were still fighting to stay out of the knockout stages, playing midweek. And if you want to be able, if you can do that, you definitely want to. And they came out against Columbus, and I said last time out, if they stumble here, if they lose or draw, Toronto's going to be right there to take that number 2 spot and not have to play midweek. And NYCFC seemed like they didn't really know that because they were very slow coming out of the gates. It took them a while to get things underway there. But then when they finally did, they scored right before halftime. And then it looked like they went in at halftime into the locker room and were like, you know what? Let's just put this thing away. And it was all NYCFC in the second half, going on to beat Columbus 4-1. Not sure what the hell's happening to Columbus, but it's not good. And as I predicted, Toronto would have been right there to clean things up and move into second place. They beat Chicago 3-2. The score was close, but the game really wasn't. I thought Toronto really handled business there. Chicago got things underway early with an early goal, but Toronto, I thought the better team throughout anyway. They fought back. They eventually overwhelmed Chicago. They went up 3-1. Chicago got a late goal. It really was not as close as maybe that scoreline would suggest. So I expected them to win against the worst team in the league, and they did. Chicago, second straight year at the bottom. Tough times in the Windy City. So with the playoff field already established, the only thing left to play for was home field advantage in this knockout stages in the East. So that meant DC United and Montreal. DC was away at Orlando, and Orlando put 4 on the board against DC United. That was bad. That was really, really bad, considering DC United only have 2 wins on the road this season. They're not a good road team, so you kind of expect them not to be able to win in Orlando, but you would have expected them to put up a little bit more of a fight, considering if they lose and Montreal win, that means DC have to go on the road to Montreal in the knockout stages, and you know DC doesn't want to play away from home. That's just not their strong suit. But luckily for them, Montreal, who knew exactly what they were playing for home field advantage in this knockout round, they went to New England, who were still fighting for their playoff lives, and came out flat, finished flat. They were a flat team. Them and Philadelphia are clearly the 2 weakest teams in the Eastern Conference going into the playoffs. And to be perfectly fair to New England, they had something to fight for. They were fighting. They fought all game long and maybe had one of their best games of the season, winning 3-0 over a playoff team. That's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. I think that gives them something, you know, gives them a little bit of encouragement moving into next season, gives them something to build off of, a little bit of hope heading into the offseason. It's not all bad in New England. There's still some good things there that can be worked on and maybe flourish next season. I expect them to be back in the playoffs next year. So while nothing really was out of the ordinary in the East, everything kind of went to plan. Let's go ahead and move over and take a look at the Western Conference, shall we? Where things were often popping in a big, big way very, very early on. And we'll start with the game that got everything underway, which was the Seattle Sounders at home taking on RSL. 2 goals in the first 4 minutes of that one. It was an absolute madness to start the freaking decision day. I mean, it was the nationally televised game. It was apparently the perfect game to put on national television as well. Holy shnikes. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. So, of course, I'm watching that game. And the Sounders get things started with the most beautiful goal that they have scored since the Deuce and Oba era. There's not been link-up play and passing like that since the last time Clint Dempsey and Obafemi Martins linked up for a goal. It was absolutely fantastic. We're talking back heel flicks, little one-touch flicks in, and it was a perfectly executed goal. It was the best goal they've scored all season, probably the best goal scored on decision day. It was absolutely flawless. I mean, it was kind of like it was Barcelona-esque, I would say. It was just so beautiful. It was absolutely fantastic. And before I could even tweet about it, RSL marched their asses right down the field and scored an equalizer. 2 goals in the first 4 minutes. Like, are you mad? I didn't even have a chance to really appreciate that goal. I was so stunned, and everyone at CenturyLink was stunned that they did that. And that set the tone. It was a tight game, but Christian Roldan, man, holy crap, has he been good this season, especially in the second half. After Clint Dempsey went down, he had to move forward in the formation, and he's been very, very good. Very solid for this team. I would say probably man of the match for us against RSL. He got everything started on that first goal with a back heel flick, and he put the second and game winner away as well. He's been absolutely essential to the success of the Sounders this season, and I can't say enough about him. And Sounders went on to win that game 2-1, and they're moving on to the playoffs. They finish in 4th place. The next team still battling for a playoff spot in the West was Sporting Kansas City. Not a whole lot to talk about there. They came out and did exactly what I think everyone expected them to do. They knocked out the Fighting Wandos at home at Sporting Park 2-0. Just basically went out and handled their business. No surprise there. So the last team still fighting for a playoff spot, who they still could have made the playoffs. They could have still knocked Sporting out if they had gone on the road, picked up their first road win of the season in Vancouver, and they... Portland, man. Portland, seriously. Wow. 4! They gave up 4 goals to Vancouver. Now, to be fair to Portland, the only team that had already been knocked out of the playoffs and still had something to play for was Vancouver. They were still fighting to take home the Cascadia Cup, which is obviously contested by Vancouver, Portland, and Seattle. Portland and Vancouver both could have won the Cascadia Cup. So it's not like Portland had nothing to play for. They were playing not only for the Cascadia Cup, but their playoff lives. And they shit the bed. I know they were without players. Their backs were against the wall. The only team not to have won a road game all season long. So the odds were not exactly in their favor. But 4-1, they came out the first 10 minutes. They looked lively. Like, okay, we kind of believe in ourselves here. But you kind of felt like the first thing that goes wrong, and it's over. And as soon as Giles Barnes fired that shot into the upper 90 and put Vancouver up 1-0, it was over. It was absolutely done. Portland closed up shop. It was over. There was no fight left in that team. And Vancouver went on to win. They had a 4-0 lead before Valeri got a penalty kick to give him a consolation goal late. I mean, it was over after that first goal. And I don't want to rub it in because it sucks missing the playoffs. I mean, I wouldn't know because Seattle's never actually missed the playoffs. I'm just saying. But I'm not going to rub it in. But that performance... I don't even think I need to say. I think Portland fans even know it. That was shambolic. That you got to have more pride than that. Even if you're down, men, you don't have the players you need. Seattle doesn't have Clint Dempsey, but you know what? They're still pushing forward. They're still getting it done. You got to have more pride than that if you're those players. If I'm a Portland fan, I'm ashamed of what the team did there. With their playoff hopes on the line, the Cascadia Cup on the line, they walk away with nothing. The defending champions of the league walk away this season with nothing. Seattle's in the playoffs. Vancouver have the Cascadia Cup. Portland has nothing. So the last thing to be decided on decision day was the Supporters Shield. And we had Dallas, the favorites, coming in. They had a 2-point lead. And they're on the road in the toughest place to play in the MLS. I don't think there can really be an argument about that. In LA. LA had nothing to play for, remember, though. They were locked into the 3rd place spot. There's nothing for them to play for at all. And he had Colorado down 2 points in the standings at home against the last place team in the West in Houston. And both teams drew. Yeah, it was a bit boring, really, especially the Dallas and LA game. Like, they're the 2 highest scoring teams in the Western Conference. Not a goal scored between them. The only goalless draw on the day. Like, I was very surprised that happened. I expected even if LA had nothing to play for, I thought maybe they'd come out and score some goals there, play a little bit of soccer. No, okay, nothing happened there. And Colorado, they would have needed to win by at least 4 to overtake Dallas in the event that Dallas drew, and that's not what they do. So I didn't really expect it. Dallas got a result like they did. I expected Colorado to end up in second place, and that's what happened. Colorado's the best defensive team in the league. Where they struggle is to score goals. They won't blow teams away. Sometimes when the goals don't come, they don't win. That could be a problem in the playoffs for them. If they give up a goal like they did against Houston, they went down 1-0. It's tough for them to come back and get that victory. That could haunt them. That really could haunt them. That is their Achilles heel. So we'll have to see how that plays out in the playoffs. But for now, they have a bye going into the playoffs. They'll wait till the weekend and see who they play. So all of that sets up the knockout rounds coming up midweek. It starts tomorrow. We have Toronto playing Philadelphia. We have LA playing RSL. So let's take a look at that first one. Toronto at home against Philly. I don't really think anyone expects Philadelphia to win, especially as flat as they were. They still had something to play for on decision day. I know they were going up against the best team in the Eastern Conference, the highest scoring team in the league as well. I just expected more, and they're kind of backing their way in. There wasn't really a whole lot of pressure on them to really win that game. I don't know if they're going to have what it takes to knock out Toronto. I really don't think so. I think the top 3 teams are well established in the East. It's going to be Toronto, NYCFC, or New York Red Bulls that are going to be in the semifinals, and playing for a spot in the MLS Cup final. I don't think Philadelphia's going to win that game. I don't think really anyone expects them to, but still, a good season for Philly. I don't think anyone expected them to make the playoffs either, and they're there. That says something about that team. I said at the beginning of this season, I like what they're building there. I just don't know if they can put it all together this season. They did to a certain extent. They got to the playoffs. Anything could happen, but I don't think that they're going to take away a win against Toronto. And then we have RSL, who were fantastic all year long until, the final month and a half where they absolutely couldn't win a game, didn't win a game. I think in their final 14 games? They were 0-7-7 or something like that. Like, whew, that's not the kind of form you want to be in going into the playoffs, especially when you're going to have to go to LA to get a result, to get a victory. And like I said, only one team in the league has actually won in LA this season. It's not going to happen, is it? You just don't expect it to happen. I really don't think either one of these games is going to be all that competitive. I expect Toronto to probably win that game 4-1. I expect LA to come out and beat RSL 3-0. I expect it to be that kind of a day for both of those teams, or both of those games to be, not very close or not very competitive. I think the better team in that one, the home team as well, will walk away with a victory. And moving on to Thursday, the final 2 knockout games, we have DC United at home against Montreal and Seattle at home against Sporting Kansas City. For DC and Montreal, I don't know if I have very much faith in either one of those teams, especially with the way they played on Sunday. I don't know. It's like picking which polished turd looks better. It's just not very pretty, is it? I don't know if either one of these teams really is going to do much after this game, but I'm going to pick the home team. I'm going to pick DC United in that one. It's probably going to be like 2-1. I don't think that they're going to blow Montreal away, but I expect the home team to come out with a victory there. I'm not saying Montreal couldn't win. They very well could. I don't put it past them to do so, but if I had to pick one, I'll take the home team in that one. And that leaves us with Seattle and Sporting Kansas City. So before I kind of give you my prediction on this one, let me just tell you a little story. If you missed the live broadcast of Seattle and RSL on Sunday, Taylor Twellman told a little story. I'm going to retell it to you here. Let's go back to July 24th, okay? Seattle on the road at Sporting Kansas City. Things are looking bleak. Looking very, very bad for the Sounders. They're in like 9th place in the West. It's just an abysmal year. Things are not going their way. It's looking like an absolute rebuild is going to be underway very shortly here. And they go on the road and they get absolutely stomped out by Sporting. It's the worst performance of the season. Ziggy Schmidt is then fired. Head coach Ziggy Schmidt is then fired. Brian Smetzer is promoted to head coach, and he tells Taylor Twellman, there's still hope. There's still hope for this team. I still believe in them. They still have the talent. Look around. This is a very talented squad. We could still make the playoffs. All we have to do is go 8-2-4 down the stretch, and we will make the playoffs. And Twellman looks at him and goes, 8-2-4. That's a bit ambitious, don't you think, considering everything that's just happened and the performance you just had against Sporting? And Brian Smetzer said, yeah, but I believe in this team. I do. I think we can do it. The Sounders, under Brian Smetzer, finished the season 8-2-4. There is something about that team that you just don't want to play right now. You do not want to mess with the Sounders at this point, especially in front of the largest home crowd in the league. I fully believe that they can do this. I fully believe, despite having lost twice to Sporting, I'm not taking anything away from that team. They're very, very good as well. They could get another road win in Seattle this season. They got one the first day of the season. A bit lucky. You have to admit that was a bit lucky to get that one. A mistake by goalkeeper Stefan Fry cost Seattle. But I don't think so. I think Seattle's going to win this game. Beyond that, I don't know what they can do. It's a crapshoot. It's the playoffs. It's the MLS. Anything could happen. All they have to do is go out, get one more win in front of 40,000 people. I think that they can do it. I think that the home crowd will be behind them. They will feel it. It's there to be had. They got one more game at home to prove themselves. I think that they'll do it. I think that they knock out Sporting Kansas City. So that is it. Let me know what your thoughts are, your predictions down below for these knockout games. I really expect the home teams to win all of them, all 4 games to be won by the home team. I think the one that's probably most up in the air is DC and Montreal. I think they're very, very equally matched. I wouldn't be surprised if Montreal comes away with a win in that one, but I just don't want to pick the road team, honestly. It doesn't happen very often. But either way, let me know what your predictions are down below, and moving forward in the playoffs, who you guys think is going to walk away with the MLS Cup, and which 2 teams you think is going to face off in the finals, one from each conference. I'm interested to see what you guys have to say on that one. But that's it for this episode. If you did enjoy it, make sure to let me know by leaving a like below. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you when we come back for some more Major League 90. See ya.